We're restructuring. Hope you don't take it personally. You understand how business works, right? Nathan Brooks said, his voice flat, devoid of emotion. I, James Tran, 48 years old, sat across from him in the meeting room of Cascade Tech, in the heart of Seattle. For 29 years, I sweated for this company, starting as a network repair technician at 19, rising to facilities manager, keeping everything running smoothly. 29 years of waking up at 5:30 a.m., fixing what was broken, training every new employee who walked through that door. I never took a sick day, never complained about working weekends, never said no to staying late to ensure the servers didn't crash overnight. Just 4 days from now, I'd qualify for a $500,000 seniority bonus, money to pay off the mortgage and cover college tuition for my daughter Ava. 4 days, yet Nathan just told me I was done. He didn't look me in the eye, his gaze fixed on his laptop screen. The meeting room felt smaller than usual, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, a familiar sound whenever the building grew quiet. Through the clear glass walls, I saw the cubicles where employees I'd trained on checking security systems, choosing reliable vendors worked diligently, unaware that the guy who helped them settle in was being shown the door. Budget cuts, Nathan continued, finally glancing up, but his eyes slid past me. We're moving toward a leaner model. Nothing personal, James, just business. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the latest video. I nodded. What else could I do? Argue? Beg? I'd seen older colleagues escorted out by security for making a scene. That wasn't me. The termination papers were already waiting in a beige envelope on the table. Final paycheck calculations, Cobra insurance info, instructions to return company property, all printed clearly, as if they'd planned this for a while. I signed where they told me to, using the ballpoint pen with the Cascade Tech logo I'd kept for 5 years. The logo on the pen had faded, like my trust in this place. Badge and keys, Nathan said, holding out his hand. I unclipped the employee badge from my belt, where it had sat for nearly 3 decades. The plastic was worn smooth from thousands of swipes through card readers. In the employee photo I looked younger, my hair still black, my eyes full of hope that I'd leave this place with respect. The keyring felt heavier than it should. Master keys to every door, equipment rooms, supply closets, loading dock. They'd once trusted me with everything. I placed them in Nathan's palm without a word, took my copy of the paperwork and walked out. I passed the cubicles, where colleagues quickly looked away as if I no longer existed. Past the break room, where I'd eaten lunch at the same table for 29 years. Past the security desk, where I'd checked in thousands of times. The parking lot was quiet, with only the patter of Seattle rain. I sat in my truck, the engine humming steadily, staring at the Cascade Tech building blurred through the rainy windshield. Rain tapped on the glass, as if trying to drown out all other sounds. I didn't rush to drive off. Something held me back, an emptiness mixed with anger. 29 years. I'd built my entire life around this place. And now, in a single morning, they erased me like a line on a spreadsheet. I closed my eyes, and memories flooded back, vivid as if they were yesterday. I started at Cascade Tech at 19, a young guy fresh out of high school, with nothing but my hands and some knowledge of network repairs. The job wasn't glamorous. Facilities management meant dealing with clogged pipes, ensuring the heating worked in Seattle's freezing winters, or scrambling when servers glitched. But it was steady, and they promised that if I stayed, a seniority bonus would secure my future. Back then, Cascade Tech was just a small company, about 50 employees, a single building in Seattle's outskirts, still figuring out its place in the tech industry. I was there when they expanded to 4 facilities across the city, oversaw the construction of a new data center, dealt with city inspectors over building codes. I taught every new employee how to read blueprints, negotiate with contractors, keep things running without busting the budget. Most of them eventually left for better opportunities. I stayed. I remember William Hayes, the mentor who guided me early on. He taught me how to handle unexpected crises, like the massive power outage that took down the entire network, when I stayed overnight to restore everything before the office opened. William patted my shoulder saying, "You're the backbone of this place, James." I believed him. I took pride in being trusted with big tasks, like overseeing new facility construction or negotiating with suppliers to save thousands of dollars. Each success made me feel indispensable to Cascade Tech. When Lisa was pregnant with Ava, the company gave me flexible time off to take her to doctor's appointments. They threw a party when I was promoted to facilities manager. But things changed 3 years ago when Nathan arrived. Young, with a degree from some prestigious school, he saw everything as a problem to solve, including people like me who'd been here before he was born. He brought in consultants, talking about optimizing efficiency and right-sizing the workforce. I saw the signs, cold nods in the hallway, meetings I wasn't invited to, odd questions about repair budgets that never came up before. Why so many maintenance contracts? Do we need such frequent safety inspections? Aren't you a bit old to be climbing ladders or crawling in equipment rooms? I thought he was just asserting himself, like other new managers before him. They'd make noise, then things would settle. I was wrong. I thought of my family, Lisa, my wife, and our 2 kids, Ava and Ethan. Lisa's an accountant at a small bank in downtown Seattle. Ava, 16, is preparing for college, always studying to get into a good school. Ethan, 10, is more carefree, loving basketball in our backyard. The seniority bonus was our hope to pay off the loan on our small family home, to let Ava attend college without worrying about student debt. I worked 29 years, not just for myself, but for them. I wanted them to be proud of me, to know my sacrifices mattered. But now I felt like I'd failed. 29 years and 11 months of dedication, and Nathan Brooks took mere minutes to say I was no longer needed. At home I sat at the kitchen table, the termination papers still in front of me, dim light casting shadows on the documents. 29 years and 10 months, the number glared at me, suspiciously wrong. I knew I'd worked 29 years and 11 months, just 4 days from qualifying for the $500,000 seniority bonus. This error couldn't be accidental. It was too perfect, too convenient for them. I got up, went to the garage where I kept important papers in an old storage box. Lisa always said, "Keep good records, James. You never know when you'll need them." She was right. I brought the box inside, opened it, and pulled out my first employment contract with Cascade Tech. The paper had yellowed, but my signature and the HR directors from back then were still clear. I checked every line: start date, seniority bonus terms, 30 years of service for the full amount. I flipped through stacks of pay stubs, each one noting workdays, overtime, holidays. Everything matched my calculations. 29 years and 11 months. I found a company memo from a few weeks ago, emailed to all employees. It was in my inbox, printed and filed in my records. The memo read, effective immediately, all seniority bonus calculations will be based on continuous years of service per company records. Employees nearing eligibility should review their records for accuracy. I read it 3 times. They stressed accuracy, yet got my time wrong. Or did they? I sat down, gripping the pen tightly. The anger was no longer just a storm inside me but a sharp focus. I needed to act, but calling Nathan Brooks wasn't an option. He'd just offer more excuses, more cover-ups. Sue the company? I didn't have money for a lawyer, and taking on a giant like Cascade Tech was a game for younger, wealthier people. Then I remembered Ellen Parker. Ellen was Cascade Tech's HR director for 12 years before retiring not long ago. She always played by the rules, never let the company skimp on employee rights. I'd heard she now worked as a labor consultant, helping firms avoid legal trouble from mistreating workers. Her number was in my old contacts, saved from when she helped me with Lisa's insurance issue. I held the phone, my finger hesitating on the screen. Calling Ellen meant admitting I'd been screwed over, that my 29 years of dedication were treated like trash. I wanted to fight back. I dialed. Ellen answered after 2 rings, her voice sharp and no nonsense. Just as I remembered. James Tran, she said before I could introduce myself. I heard about what happened. Word travels fast in this industry. I spilled everything. Getting fired just 4 days before my bonus milestone, the error in the paperwork, Nathan's cold demeanor over the past few months. I mentioned the meetings I wasn't invited to, the odd questions about repair budgets, how Nathan stopped greeting me in the hallway. Ellen listened without interrupting, only occasionally asking sharp questions about timelines, documents, company memos. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "You kept all your pay stubs?" she asked. "Everything. Contracts, memos, important emails. Lisa always told me to keep good records." "Lisa's a smart woman," Ellen replied. "Listen, James, what Nathan did isn't just wrong, it's illegal. Federal law protects employees from being fired to avoid paying earned benefits. But to prove it, we need more than just the timing. We need to show intent." Ellen explained how these cases work. The U.S. Department of Labor takes this seriously, but they need solid evidence, documents, patterns of behavior, something showing the firing wasn't a coincidence. "Bring everything to my office Monday morning," she said. "Don't talk to anyone at Cascade Tech. Don't post anything online. Don't even tell your neighbors. If this goes the way I think it will, we want them to believe they got away with it." I nodded, though she couldn't see, feeling a small spark of hope ignite. I put the papers back in the box, looked out the window. Seattle's rain kept falling, but inside me, the storm had shifted into something else, a quiet resolve. I hid the firing from Lisa and the kids. I didn't want them to worry, didn't want Ava to see her dad as a failure right before her college exams, or Ethan, the 10-year-old still innocently playing basketball in the yard, to think I was no longer his hero. But keeping it secret stressed me out. Every time Lisa asked about work, I brushed it off, pretending everything was fine. The seniority bonus wasn't just money, it was their future, the promise I'd worked 29 years to keep. Tuesday afternoon, the phone rang. Nathan Brooks's name flashed on the screen. My heart pounded, but I remembered Ellen's advice. Stay calm, record if needed. I hit the record button and answered. James, Nathan said, his voice cold but with a hint of strain. I heard you've been talking about your termination. I hope you're not planning anything foolish. I didn't respond. He went on. I get that you're upset, but we followed company policy to the letter. Your record shows 29 years and 10 months. I've got the documentation right here. I knew he was lying. The contract in the garage proved I started young, hitting 29 years and 11 months. But I didn't argue, not wanting to fall into his trap to control the conversation. I'm not looking for trouble, I said, my voice steady. Good, Nathan replied, because if someone files a baseless complaint, we'd have to defend ourselves. And defending ourselves means looking closely at your work history, making sure you never violated any policies, never took anything that wasn't yours, never said anything that hurt the company's reputation. The threat was clear. If I sued, they'd dig up my past, smear me. I hung up, my hand trembling slightly. I thought about giving up. Lawsuits are expensive, and I didn't have spare cash. If I lost, I'd lose everything, and my family would suffer. Lisa and the kids didn't deserve that. But then Lisa walked into the kitchen, her eyes sharp, like she knew something. James, what are you hiding from me? She asked. I tried to dodge, but she said a former colleague of mine had called, asking about my firing. I sighed and told her everything. The faulty paperwork, the call with Ellen, Nathan's threat. Lisa was silent, then took my hand. You worked 29 years for them, James. They don't get to steal what you earned. Not just for us, but for others they might treat this way. You have to fight. Lisa's words woke me up. I wasn't used to fighting, not used to standing up to someone like Nathan Brooks, with Cascade Tech's lawyers and money. But I couldn't let them take everything without doing something. I looked at Lisa, nodded. You're right, I said. I'll do this. Monday morning I drove to Ellen Parker's office in downtown Seattle, bringing 3 boxes of papers, employment contract, pay stubs, company memos, internal emails, and performance reviews. I'd carefully kept for 29 years. Ellen greeted me at her small office, a tidy space with bookshelves full of legal documents. She flipped through each page I brought, jotting notes on a yellow legal pad, her eyes sharp like a lawyer prepping for trial. When she read the company memo from a few weeks ago about calculating seniority bonuses based on accurate records, she paused, read it again. This is gold, she said, her voice firm. Nathan Brooks wrote that they're committed to accuracy, then fired you with a wrong number, just 4 days before the 30-year mark. Either he's incompetent, or he's lying. I asked. What's the difference? Ellen gave a cold smile. Incompetence gets you your bonus back. Lying gets you the bonus, plus damages, and could drag their whole HR department into a federal investigation. Ellen outlined the process. We'd file a complaint with the U.S. Department of Labor Seattle office. They'd investigate, interview witnesses, review documents. If they found evidence of deliberate benefit denial, Cascade Tech would face serious consequences, not just fines, but possible criminal charges for those involved. How long will it take? I asked. Depends, Ellen replied. Could be weeks, could be months. But James, once we file, there's no turning back. Nathan will know you didn't go quietly. He'll fight back. I nodded, knowing Ellen was right, but I was ready. Tuesday, Ellen called back. The Department of Labor moved faster than I expected, she said. They've been watching Cascade Tech for a while. You're not the first. She explained that over the past 2 years, 3 other longtime employees were fired just before their seniority bonus. All in their 50s, all with service time suspiciously miscalculated. They call it a pattern, Ellen said. Systematic benefit denial. The kind that puts companies on federal watch lists. A chill ran through me. I wasn't the only one treated this way. This was a calculated plan. The Department of Labor investigator, Sarah Collins, contacted me on Wednesday. Young, maybe just a bit older than Ava, but her voice was full of determination. Sarah asked me to come to her office Thursday morning for an interview. Meanwhile, I got another call from Tom Reynolds, a former colleague in facilities. Tom was someone I'd trained, a young technician I taught to read blueprints years ago. But his voice today was off, tense. James, I heard you're making a fuss about getting fired, he said. I just want to say, I reported some things about you to Nathan. Nothing personal, but I needed to keep my job. I was stunned. Tom had fed Nathan false information, maybe about my performance or budget management, to curry favor. The betrayal stung, but I stayed calm, recalling Ellen's advice, don't let emotions take over. Thursday, I went to the Department of Labor office in Seattle, a gray building with long hallways. Sarah Collins and another investigator, both in crisp suits, recorded everything. They asked me to walk through my work history, from my first day at Cascade Tech to the final months under Nathan. They showed me an internal email I'd never seen. It was from Nathan to the HR director Karen Walsh, stating, James Tran is a long-term cost. His seniority bonus and insurance will be a significant burden. His duties can be reassigned to current staff. My blood boiled. While I worked overtime, trained people like Tom, fixed systems, they'd been planning to get rid of me for months. Sarah explained it wasn't just a civil issue. When a company deliberately fires employees to avoid paying benefits, that's fraud. Wire fraud. If they used emails to plan it, those involved could face prison. I stared at her, processing the weight of it. Nathan and Karen weren't just saving money. They'd broken the law. I left the office, Seattle's rain still falling, but I felt a sense of relief. The investigation had begun, and I wasn't alone anymore. A few days later, Ellen Parker called me to her office. James, I want you to meet someone, she said over the phone, her voice full of resolve. I drove there, carrying a mix of anger and hope. In Ellen's small office, I met David Kim, a 52-year-old engineer who'd worked in Cascade Tech software development. David was thin, his eyes weary but sharp. He shared that he was fired a year ago, just weeks before qualifying for his seniority bonus. They said I had 29 years and 9 months, David said, his voice bitter. But I knew I'd hit 30 years. I didn't have enough papers to prove it, so I let it go. Hearing David's story, I felt like I was looking in a mirror. He too had been loyal, had trained new employees, had believed Cascade Tech would keep its promises. But they stole what he deserved. Ellen explained that the Department of Labor had found 2 other victims, both in their 50s, both with miscalculated service times. The 4 of us, me, David, and the other 2, were coordinating to form a class action lawsuit. Sarah Collins had dug deep into Cascade Tech's records, and what she found stunned me. An internal spreadsheet, emailed between Nathan and Karen, listed our names alongside columns for service time, projected termination date, and cost savings. For me, they noted $500,000 saved if fired before the 30-year mark. In total, the company aimed to save $3 million by eliminating us. I clenched my fists, trying to contain my anger. The matter started spilling into the open. An article in the Seattle Times reported on the Department of Labor's investigation into Cascade Tech, though it didn't name me yet. The company's stock dropped 15% in 2 days, and the board began asking questions Nathan couldn't answer. On Friday, my phone rang again. It was Nathan, his voice higher than usual, tinged with panic. James, I think there's been a misunderstanding about your termination, he said. We should talk, sort this out. Maybe we miscalculated your records. If you come to the office Monday, we can review, make sure you get what you deserve. I almost laughed. Nathan was scared. The investigation had gone public, and he knew he was losing control. I remembered Ellen's advice, stay quiet, let them think they got away. No need, I said, my voice calm. James, please, Nathan nearly begged. We've worked together for years. Let's handle this like adults, no lawyers, no government agencies, just a conversation. But it was too late for conversation. I didn't respond to Nathan anymore. I knew he was trying to lure me into a trap, a deal to keep me silent. But I was no longer the guy sitting in my truck, confused and hurt. Thanks to Ellen and Sarah, thanks to David and the other victims, I saw I wasn't alone. Seattle's rain still fell outside the window, but I felt a new strength. The investigation was moving forward, and I knew justice wasn't far off. The Department of Labor's investigation entered its 3rd week, and things were moving faster than I expected. After Nathan Brooks's panicked call, I knew he felt the pressure. The Seattle Times article about Cascade Tech's case had shaken the company, and their stock kept sliding. But I didn't expect justice to come so quickly. On Monday, the phone rang. Not Nathan, but the company's official lawyer, a man with a smooth, composed voice. Mr. Tran, he said, we'd like to discuss a settlement, your full seniority bonus, health insurance, and an additional $75,000 for the inconvenience you've endured. I stayed silent, recalling Ellen Parker's words. They only settle when they know they're about to lose. I'll think about it, I replied, then hung up. I called Ellen immediately. Don't take it, she said at once. James, they're scared. The Department of Labor has enough evidence to take this to federal court. When this breaks, more people will come forward. This will be a multi-million-dollar class action lawsuit. Ellen was right. Just days later, Sarah Collins, the Department of Labor investigator, reported that 8 current and former Cascade Tech employees had reached out, suspecting their terminations or bonus calculations were also fraudulent. By the end of the week, the number was 15. The Seattle Times kept covering it, with a headline, Federal Probe Targets Seattle Tech Firm. A photo of Nathan Brooks appeared on the front page of the business section, his suit looking too big for his stressed frame. The case went to federal court in Seattle. I was called as a witness in the preliminary hearing. The courtroom was cold, with wooden benches and white light streaming through large windows. I sat at the witness stand, facing Cascade Tech's lawyer, a tall man trying to discredit me. "Mr. Tran, were you ever reprimanded for exceeding repair budgets?" he asked, his tone mocking. I stayed calm, answering clearly. "No, I always kept costs below approved levels." Ellen and Sarah had prepped me thoroughly. They presented evidence, internal emails between Nathan and Karen Walsh, the spreadsheet listing me and others under optimization targets, and the recorded threatening call from Nathan. David Kim, the engineer I met through Ellen, also testified, recounting his firing just before his bonus milestone. His testimony, combined with the evidence, silenced the room. The Department of Labor wrapped up its investigation right after the hearing. Their report confirmed that Cascade Tech deliberately fired 16 employees, including me, to avoid paying seniority bonuses, causing over $3.5 million in damages. The court ruled the company violated the Employee Retirement Income Security Act (ERISA), ordering them to pay full bonuses and damages. For me, that meant the $500,000 seniority bonus, plus $250,000 in compensation. Nathan and Karen faced wire fraud charges, a criminal offense carrying potential prison time. Nathan faced up to 5 years while Karen wasn't escaping justice either. I didn't attend the criminal hearings, but Ellen kept me updated. The Department of Labor seized Cascade Tech's email servers, interviewed 6 current employees, and executed search warrants on Nathan's office and HR. They found more documents, internal reports from 3 years back, showing a systematic plan to eliminate long-time employees before bonus milestones. They documented everything, Ellen said over coffee at a small shop near her office. Like they wanted to get caught. Nathan's plan was simple but brutal. Identify employees nearing bonus eligibility, find reasons to fire them, and save millions in long-term costs. He pitched it to the board as financial optimization, but he didn't expect me to keep every paper, didn't expect Ellen to know labor law, didn't expect Sarah Collins and the Department of Labor to act so swiftly. Cascade Tech couldn't withstand the pressure. A larger company acquired them, firing the entire old leadership, including Nathan and Karen. I received my seniority bonus, compensation, and health insurance, all calculated correctly as I deserved. I thought of Nathan, who called it just business when he fired me. Now facing prison, I wondered if he still thought it was just business. I thought of Lisa, Ava, and Ethan, the years I stayed up late fixing systems, missing family moments. This justice wasn't just money, it was acknowledgement that my 29 years mattered. Seattle's rain stopped, giving way to rare sunlight streaming through my home's window. I stood in the garage, tools in hand, engrossed in fixing an old bicycle I promised for Ethan. The smell of machine oil and the clink of metal reminded me of my early days at Cascade Tech, repairing networks with pride. But this felt different now. I wasn't just fixing, I was building something new, something for my family and me. I used some of the money to pay off the mortgage on our small family home. The rest, I put into a college fund for Ava, ensuring she could attend university without financial strain. The compensation sat untouched in a savings account, earning interest. I haven't needed it. Not sure I will. After 29 years of relentless work, I had what mattered. Not just money but a home, a family, and the feeling I'd done right. The vintage bike in the garage was a gift I'd long promised Ethan. He kept begging me to fix it so he could ride around the neighborhood. I spent hours sanding rust, replacing chains, adjusting brakes, each motion bringing a joy I'd forgotten. When Ethan ran in, eyes lighting up at the bike taking shape, his smile was worth more than any bonus. "Hurry up, Dad," he said, then dashed out to play basketball. I smiled, kept working. Fixing a bike wasn't like fixing systems at Cascade Tech. It wasn't about patching someone else's mess. It was building something lasting, like the love I have for my son. Lisa stepped into the garage, holding a coffee mug. "You look more relaxed," she said, her eyes warm. I told her about my idea to open a small repair shop in Seattle, focusing on bikes and mechanical stuff. Not for profit but to do what I love, to spend time with family. Lisa nodded, supportive as always. She was the one who urged me to fight when I wanted to quit, who reminded me to keep records from the start. Without Lisa, I might not be here, bonus in hand, future open wide. That evening, we ate dinner together. Me, Lisa, Ava, and Ethan. Ava talked about colleges she wanted to apply to, her eyes bright discussing computer science. Ethan chimed in, bragging about a basketball shot he nailed yesterday. Lisa looked at me, smiling. After dinner, Ava called from the living room. "Dad, I read the Cascade Tech article online," she said. "I'm proud of you for not giving up." I laughed, shook my head. "I didn't do anything special, just made a phone call." "Sometimes that's enough," Ava said, her voice certain. It turned out it mattered, just not how I thought. Thanks to one call to Ellen Parker, I reclaimed what I deserved, and more, a new future for me and my family. The story of James Tran and boss fired me just days before my retirement benefits kicked in. After 29 years of service, but I fought back and one reflects the real challenges many workers in the US face today, especially in competitive tech industries like Seattle's. James, a 48-year-old facilities manager, was fired just 4 days before receiving a $500,000 seniority bonus after 29 years at Cascade Tech. His journey from shock and betrayal to resolve and seeking justice with help from Ellen Parker and the Department of Labor offers a profound lesson in persistence, the importance of record-keeping, and the value of unity in fighting for rights. In today's U.S., where companies often prioritize profits over employee loyalty, as Nathan Brooks labeled James a long-term cost, this story reminds us to proactively protect our rights. James's keeping of contracts, pay stubs, and company memos for 29 years, thanks to his wife Lisa's advice, was key to proving fraud. The practical lesson is always save important documents from contracts to work emails, as they can be evidence to shield you from injustice. Moreover, James's collaboration with other victims like David Kim led to a class action lawsuit, showing the power of unity in challenging corporate wrongs. Finally, James finding joy in fixing a bike for his son Ethan and planning a small shop teaches us that, despite setbacks, rebuilding life with family and personal passions is the way forward. Stay persistent, prepare thoroughly, and never give up your rights. That's how to overcome unfairness in today's workplace. Subscribe to the channel to follow journeys of justice and inspiring stories like James Tran's. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.